For Snobs Movie Summer School, we're going to talk about the importance of the static shot. That's right, everybody, the static shot. What is the static shot? This is basically the static shot. When my camera's not moving, normally it's a static shot. It's a shot that is locked off. They also call it a lockdown shot, so you guys know. But that is a different sort of, if you hear the term lockdown, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a static shot. A static shot means the camera's not moving. That means that you are watching your figures. They can move within it. Anything can move within the shot, but the camera is not moving. You are with it. You are there. One of the most famous static shot, that we know of as geeks, especially, is the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon when they're flying. I hate being in bed doing this. I really do. I wish I was in my studio. So, when in the Millennium Falcon flying, it's so static, but everything is happening. They are running around, talking to each other. They're hitting buttons. They're going, lose the head in the room a little bit, going all over the place, doing what they have to do. So, and you also have the warp speed. Well, it's light speed in Star Wars, but you have the light speed effects coming through the screen. It's a very famous static shot, but also another static shot that really adds. And I want to explain kind of what it is off the bat. Is now when you have that shot of the two sons outside Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's house, when young Luke Skywalker is walking up the mound to go and look at the sunsets. That's a static shot. It's locked off. So what the lockdown shots means is that the tripod is locked down, the camera is there. Now, what is the difference between a lockdown and a static shot? Lockdown, you can still pan and tilt. You can still, that's pan, and you got the tilts. So when you have that element, you're still moving the camera. It's still a movement within the shot for the camera. Static is the camera doesn't move. It is locked. It is in position, and it is not happening. So that's why a lockdown shot. But there are so many effective elements that happen, and we don't see a static shot too often other than within coverage in movies anymore. And it really bugs me. It really does. And a lot of independent filmmakers don't tend to use it, and they don't think they understand the importance that a static shot can hold to help build character, help build set, help build, development of really your story, where we're at. Hold on, I gotta sit up. Sorry, guys, when you're in this much pain, you have to move accordingly. So let me do this. I'm gonna sit forward a little bit and just hopefully the camera will stop moving. So when it comes to the static shot, sorry, got my remotes. When it comes to the static shot, why do we not see it used as effectively? We do with older filmmakers. Older filmmakers will often use a static shot really well, especially when they're establishing scenes. But effectively, when they're trying to portray something about their characters effectively to us, so that way we have a chance to read the room. And they can also do it where you can jump shots. You can cut between different shots, different static shots, and you can also change your static shot within it. Perfect example of this is in the movie Heat. Now, we use the 3-shot method. We use that movie and that scene in the diner when they're talking, and it's Al Pacino and it's Robert De Niro. It's a very famous scene. We all know it. We use that to talk about the 3-camera over the shoulder method and the master method. But what we don't really talk about is how important the static portion of it is, that there is no real movement of the camera. The movement comes from the cuts, and the movement comes from the actors. And every time something changes, every time it is like a ballet. This is so choreographed beautifully in such a way, it dazzles your mind. I think we sometimes forget that, and changing that up and to be able to see. So like we get closer, we get farther, we get close. So like when they're calmer, we're farther away from them. When we get closer, we're in their face, like in their face, pulled up. Yeah, and when they're kind of agreeing with each other and where they're at, we get the two shot. Then it's over the shoulder, over the shoulder, over the shoulder. It is such a dance to be able to do that, and it takes such amazing editing. But within those shots, to be that static tells the tale. That locked off shot, that shot that is not moving and is just allowing our characters to breathe on their own and do their own thing, is telling us more about these characters. It's telling us more about the setting that we're in and where the film is at this point, and really anything else going on. It's pushing the story forward. This is perfect filmmaking. When you can use a static shot in that way, I'm all for moving the camera. I'm all for pushing. The push pull is beautiful, but those are effects that are utilized for a certain point. You can't push pull 15, 16, 17 times in a movie. That would be insane because it would lose its meaning. Why would you want to do something like that? And push pull, of course, when we can talk about this in another point, but a perfect example of this is when Brody is sitting on the beach and the Kittner boy gets eaten, and all of a sudden, the camera's coming in at him and it's coming to a close up, but the background is pushing away. So the foreground's coming at and the background's pushing, zooming out. So but that is a camera movement. That's not a static shot. They do move. That's on a dolly. It's just when we explain that one, and we get up to all the camera shots in a different episode, I'll explain how that works. But that is an effective method for that. That adds to the shock and the awe. What I'm talking about with the static shot is, so let's talk about Lawrence of Arabia. So if you haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, you should. It's a beautiful, beautiful set piece. But when he blows out that match that's burning, and that is it's the representation of the desert and the heat of the desert and how things are just burning over there. And when he blows it out and the sun, and it cuts to, it's a static shot of him holding the match for a very long take and talking, then to blowing it out. When he blows it out, it immediately cuts to a new static shot of the sun rising, and it dissolves into another static shot of Omar Sharif riding his horse up to Lawrence. And it is one of the most beautiful cut scenes, just to kind of be able to go through those, and then the transitions that happen within them, to cut so hard from the match being blown to the sun, and then to transition into a dissolve from the sun into this lone rider riding in this desert and just not moving, but slowly he's coming closer and closer to the foreground. It's beautiful. Now, when it comes to a lot of these static shots, they're very big over in Asian cinema. Chinese, especially Chinese cinema, loves to use static shots, and they use them so effectively. Korean as well. They, set up your camera and you are good to go, and you're going to let your characters tell your tale. And beautifully done also by production design, because everything that you see, and not just in Asian cinema, but if you do it really well in American cinema, and we've seen it, that art, you can use that art design and though the production design and the art department to also tell the tale of who these characters are, help us build who these characters are. It is a beautiful way to kind of, give to just tell your story and using shots that are very easy to set up, but tell you took time on. And it also gives your subjects, your actors, a chance to really play with what they have. They know where they're working. They know where they're framed. So, we have many different methods that you can use when you're working within something like this. Like the rule of threes is the rule of thirds is probably the biggest, where you cut it up into 2 lines this way, 2 lines this way, and they cut across, and it creates 4 points of crossover. And then of course you have so much going on. We use it here, like even when I'm doing this, where I am now, dead center, is authoritative. A lot of times you will see authority figures in movies in a static shot. When they're using the rule of thirds, they will be in dead center, and they'll usually be over, so then that way it is, I think when Arlie Ermey's character in Full Metal Jacket is yelling at them, that is a really well done, really well used use of thirds. He's such an authoritarian. Like, you don't need anything else in the shot. You just need the blankness of the ceiling behind him, and it works so effectively. But why do we not see this in a lot of indie projects now? I think because also ultimately guerrilla filmmaking has always been a thing. People are generally worried about time. They don't plan out the shots for that. When they lock down the camera, it's more to, okay, what can we get? What can we get? What can we get? And there's always that intensity within yourself to want to move the camera. Sometimes you just gotta lock it off, and you gotta let your actors go. Frame them right, put them in the right, use leading lines, find the balance within the scene. And it's all too often I will see people talk to each other, and it's like, oh yeah, yeah, is that what you're going to do to me? And then they'll cut to the next, and it's like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do to you, and that's how it's going to work. Use your screen, tilt over, but don't talk. Talk to the larger part of the screen. All right, and of course you want to do something a little more design oriented behind me, but you want to talk to your larger part of the screen, right? Never you want to talk like this. It looks stupid, because then you have just negative space here. So talk to your larger part of the screen. And then when you cut, add that element to the other side, So using these effective tools will actually help with a lot of independent filmmaking, and it can help you plan better. It can help you push your story along. It can help your actors have a chance to play with things a little bit more. So when I don't see it utilized properly, I just don't understand if people understand the static shot that well. And I do encourage people to go out and find movies like 2001: Space Odyssey. Great movie for just checking out static shots and how well they work. Then you have movies that add elements to it where, again, a lot of Asian culture. Parasite had a lot of great static shots that worked well and were framed perfectly, and they did perfectly with art direction and such. But if you guys are interested in learning more about the static shot and talking about it more, I'm going to also be doing fuller videos of these on our Patreon. So please feel free to reach out to me or join our Patreon, and I will do full ones. And I will be able to add a lot of different. This is a podcast, is a little bit different. So then again, a video series, I can add some of my examples, things like that I would love for you guys to see. But yeah, or reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk about it with you too. So thanks everybody. But let's get into it. Our final segment for this evening, I am going to fix